last year I got invited by a homeschool group to become a lesson. And so I brought out my actual bees, a hive, live bees to the presentation. And the kids had so many questions. We brought out bees, we brought honey, and all these things for them to look at and try. So it was so cool to see both things come to life. They actually seen the bees trying to find the queen bee and then relating it back to the story that I wrote.
Everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. It's the author podcast. You get to meet great authors from around the world. If you love children's books, awesome, you're in the right place. If you like bees and honey, you're also in a good place. We got to talk about a lot of great stuff today on the show, and I'm excited to have my guests on the podcast. You're going to love it. There's multiple books for you to fall in love with, read to your kiddos, and get them inspired and enjoying great stories. Shymara's on the podcast with me, and I'm so excited to have her here. Welcome to the show. Nice to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Dave, for having me. I'm really excited to be able to share my story and talk a little bit about my love for books and how I got started.
All right. Well, we're in the right place then, because that's exactly what we do on this podcast. So it's a perfect match. I love it. Let people know first where you are in this big world of ours.
So I'm located in Georgia at the moment. I was most of my life I was in Florida, but I've been in Georgia for the past 5 years. So if you are looking for me in events, that's where I'll be, is in Georgia.
There you go. Nice. Excellent. And one thing that's interesting that we chatted about was you are a beekeeper. I haven't met a lot of beekeepers, and I'm always curious, like, how somebody becomes a beekeeper. Do you go and buy a bunch of bees and now you're a beekeeper? How do you find bees to start? I have so many questions. But how long have you been doing beekeeping?
I want to say for the last 3 years now, we've been doing beekeeping. It's been pretty good so far. You're always learning, and you'll be surprised of how many people are actually beekeepers. And so you dive into that world, you just like, oh, I never met one before, just like you just said.
Yeah, right.
But they're there. We're here.
Okay, so all right, for somebody who has no idea how to do any of this, how does somebody start beekeeping? Where do you find bees to keep? How does that even start?
So it all started through my husband. He met a patient that was actually a beekeeper, and he got invited to a meeting, which they have a lot of beekeeper associations. You just got to find them in your state. So I actually attended the first one alone, and it was a little overwhelming at first because it was a lot. And it's like you feel like you don't know nothing, but they are very supportive. And that's actually your resources as well, because everyone's willing to either share their knowledge or share where they get their bees, or they have their own bees to be able to provide to you as well. So basically that's where we would get our bees. We joined the meeting, and it's like a club. It's association, and then from there we just either trade bees or trade ideas, and we host monthly meetings where we talk about how to either maintain the hives, maintain the bees, threats that we've encountered, issues we've encountered, what should we be doing the next few months if winter's coming, or where we're going to be pulling honey. And we have like guest speakers come on, so it's always a learning process, always.
All right. Okay, so you have a group that helps you get you started. As far as if I see the beehives out there in the field, and I see multiples usually of more than one, how many bees, depending on the size of the hive, how many bees typically would be in a typical hive at any given time? Those are like thousands in a hive?
Like 30,000.
What? Okay. Wow. Really?
Yeah. It also depends how high the levels of stacks that you have. We tend to have about 3 levels on each of ours, and we have about 6 hives on our property.
Okay, so from a parent's perspective, we're going to get into the books in a second, but from a parent's perspective, how important is it to tell our kids and teach our kids about bees and why we need them in the world? Because sometimes people equate bees with hornets and things that sting you and hurt you, and they're like, I don't want anything to do with that. But how important is it for us to teach our kids about the importance of bees in our world? What is that kind of why you wrote your book as well?
Yeah, so that ties to one of my books, which is Zeke Becomes a Beekeeper. So,
Hmm.
because of these meetings, my son actually attended one of the meetings, and we host junior beekeepers. So, they were able to
Oh,
go out and be able to actively go in hives, learn how to properly go in their proper gear, and they get certified at the end of the course. So,
oh,
that's how that book got birthed. But
okay.
as far as the importance of bees and teaching our children, um, it, it's it's a combination thing. So it's important to teach them about bees, to be safe around them, and what they do for us. We also have a garden, so the bees play a role in our garden. They play a role for providing honey for the community, and honey has so many benefits as far as ailments that people may healing and coughs and
Yeah.
allergies, all that type of sort. So I think that's important to teach kids how to take care of things, nature that support us as living beings, and how we take from them as well. Because we are mindful when we take honey from them, because it is their source of food as well. So
Yeah.
we are
Oh,
mindful
yeah.
that when we take from them, that we also leave for them, especially during the
Yeah.
winter.
Right.
And also, in general, as beekeepers, it teaches our children to be responsible and be able to take care of other things, and also how to provide for the family naturally without having to, from homegrown stuff that we have in our home.
One of our friends is a beekeeper up here in Canada where I am, and he was explaining to us that local honey from your area, from the bees in your local community, help as far as kind of some of your allergies because you're getting the honey based on where you live, right?
Right. So they will, there's different people will name their honeys different things depending
Yeah.
on where they're located, obviously. So the definitely that does make sense, because the trees, for example, a lot of people have certain trees and they, native to their state or to their area, and our bees will stay in our local area. Luckily for ours, we don't have a specific name for our honey, but because we live kind of in a subdivision where they just kind of have free game. There's no other bees competing with them for
Hmm.
nectar or pollen or any of that sort. So
Okay.
it's a good resource for them to have. And we have actually won best tasting honey in our town. So that's one
Of
thing
course you
that
did.
I'd say.
Nice.
I guess they picked the best trees or best
Wow.
flowers.
So how far does a bee travel from their home in
Uh,
average?
I'd say no more than 5 miles.
Oh, really? Okay. Not that far then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They usually end in the book. It also talks about it. We call it Bee Highway. You can actually see them have a little transit. It's like a little
Really?
little transit. Yeah, if you're paying attention close enough, because they have the ones that do go leave the hive, the ones that stay and
Yeah.
nurse. Their nurse bees obviously stay inside, but
Yeah.
the ones that do leave and collect the pollen, those you can see them. They have a little route.
Yeah, because I remember watching when my kids were little, we watched the Bee movie, with
Hmm.
Jerry Seinfeld and all that. And I'm like, oh, I learned a lot from that. That was a pretty good way to teach me some bee knowledge. But
You're right.
yeah, right? Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, so we got some bee knowledge, everybody. That's helpful. We'll get into more of the book here in a second. So we have authors that listen to the show. They come here because they're looking for inspiration from someone like you. I'm not an author yet, but you are with the two
Uh-huh.
books you have and more to come. There's people that want to do children's books. They have no idea how to do what you've done. So, what kind of things would have been helpful for you to hear before you wrote and published your very first children's book? That now looking back, you're like, oh, if I had known this, it would have been easier or whatever. But what kind of help can you give just to a new author that wants to write a children's book?
Okay, so when I started writing, honestly, I didn't know where to begin. So I suppose I could have chose and to go with a big publishing company, which I did attempt to, but it didn't align with what I was trying to do. And so
Hmm.
I was afraid to be like my voice would be shut down. So I decided to self-publish. That gave me more room to write, more freedom to say what I wanted to say. And I guess so I say for someone starting off, choose which way best fits you. If you have the means and would like to, be backed by a publishing company, that's great. If you want to self-publish, that's also great. Either way, you're writing a book and you're putting your stuff out there. For me, I went the self-publishing route and I used my daily life as inspiration. And I found where I felt like things were lacking as far as what children should be learning or should be reading in books nowadays. Um, and it went from there. So I would
Okay.
say definitely find your topic where it gets relatable to kids, and kids have no filter. They definitely will be brutally honest with you. So I did use my kids as well to pitch the idea and see how they gravitated to it. And that's kind of where it was birthed from. So I try to use my life experience, my own kids, and their perspective as well.
The other big part for children's books doesn't translate to other books, other authors I have on the show, all they worry about is the cover. That's all the only imagery they need. The rest is all words. Your books are all equal, words and the illustrations. So having
Right.
that illustration piece is super important for your book, right? How did you navigate finding your illustrator? Because I think a lot of authors are like listening and like a pen out right now, going, "Yeah, please tell me, how did you find these
Yeah,
people?
right,
How
illustrator.
did you do it?"
So, I knew I wanted the illustrations to be us because that's what my books are about,
Yeah,
us. And I also wanted to catch the children's eyes because they obviously will gravitate to certain things. So, I can't draw, but I can inspire. I can tell you what I like and what I don't like or
yeah,
what I would love to see, but I definitely can't draw. So I decided to go I went on Fiverr.com and I scouted several illustrators all around the world and you basically can connect with them. One thing I did go about is I asked for anyone to give me a sample because I wanted to see if they could bring to life what I was saying.
mm,
Um, there's a lot of technology out there where there's a lot of features where you may not like. And I wanted to go back a little bit more traditional than modern right now. So it took a little bit of work to find one, but they are that I would say that was the best resource for me to find one, especially if you're in a budget, because you can search by budget as well. So it
mm.
has different options. You can search by budget, by looks, by style, and it's a lot easier. And then you, like I said, I asked for draft, like a little sample of something. Some may say no, some may, but that's what it made me filter out the ones I did want to work with. If you could, then yes, we'll work with you. And it was
Okay,
really helpful. My illustrator, she's worked very well with me. I provided the examples, so I gave the vision, um, and she was able to bring that to life. So
nice.
yeah, definitely that's one of the I would say the go-to places.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, if you're going to write more than one children's book and it's all based on a character, a main character or a main
Hmm.
theme or look, you don't want to go and hire a new illustrator every time because they're not going to be able to copy the last person. So you kind of want to
Right,
keep the same illustrator as you write into the future.
right. You
Do
want
you
to be
have to
able to
have that kind
create
of,
that.
yeah. Do you talk to your
Yeah.
illustrator about that and say, I'm going to be writing more books and I want to keep working with you?
Right. I think we both have that mindset when we walked into it. So it's like I told her I was writing my first book when I wrote my first book, and then at the end of the project, she was like, "If you ever write more books, can reach out." So that's what happened. And when I started my second book, I already knew who I was going to reach out because my characters were the same. It got a little bit older, but she was able to navigate easier. The second time around, it was so much easier. It was less okay, she knows how I worked and she knows what my characters look like. So that process definitely makes sense to if you find someone you like, definitely try to keep them and go from there to keep writing your books.
And then do you have to have some kind of an agreement with your illustrator about who owns the imagery? Because, like, if I wanted to make a shirt or a plushie or a toy or a whatever, a sticker that goes along with the book, do I have to go back to the illustrator and get permission for my own book illustrations? Or do you have some kind of agreement? How does that work?
So I would definitely make sure you put that out on the table when you're
Yeah.
working with your illustrator because I would say everyone has a different agreement. My illustrator actually didn't want to be named on the books as the
Oh,
illustrator because that was an option. I was going to put her name on it, but she didn't want to. She gave me all the rights. I did design the drawings. She just did the drawing part, and like it's
Okay.
like my stick figures came to life. But
Good.
as far as ownership, she made that very clear that they were mine. And
Okay.
even at the end of the process, she did provide me samples that I could use for either like coloring sheets or logos or
Nice.
stuff like that.
Okay. So a good idea for new children's book authors to have that conversation with whoever you work with, right? Make sure you do
Uh,
that.
Definitely. And I've also encountered some authors that forgot to ask for those things, and then they did not go back to that illustrator, so they were left without that piece of like either a gif of the character or
Yeah.
a black and white of the character that you can alter, or little tidbits, little marketing tools. I know mine had made my book look like realistic, and she had the way the back and the front were adjusted. But it's a learning curve. If you don't know, you don't know. But
Yeah.
definitely, I'm willing to share what I do know and what I've learned for others to kind of just take the easier route.
There you go. Okay, let's get into the stories too, because we have parents listening. They're not necessarily here to write a children's book. They want to fall in love with your books, and they want to buy them for their kids and read them to their kids. So let's talk about the first one then, Zeke's Quest for Courage. Is that your first book that you wrote then?
Yeah, so we got Zeke's
Then
Quest
there it
for
is.
Courage.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who are those two other amazing adults in there as well? Who are those nice people?
That would be my husband and me, and then our son.
There you go.
Like
nice.
I said, the book is based off of us.
Yeah.
Because the reason this story was birthed is because we're a blended family.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to make sure that the parents or the children knew that it was okay to be part of a blended family, but we also wanted to make sure that how you have to pour into your child individually. Every child will come with its own sets of problems or challenges, and in this case, Zeke's challenge was he was nervous for upcoming spelling tests. So as parents, we were there to provide him the courage. It was kind of like the invisible cup of courage we poured him at night. And
nice.
That's where he like falls asleep, and then all of a sudden he's in search of this magical courage potion. And it also teaches spelling words. But this book was very exciting for me to write because it related to my son, the issues he had in school. So he also had trouble with his spelling words. And I felt that if I was able to do a fun way to teach him how to learn the spelling words, then I could do this with other kids. Because they would chuckle when we were just the way it's a riddle. So by solving the riddle, it's the answer to the riddle is the spelling words.
Mm.
So the book also teaches comprehension, because I mentioned the spelling words at the beginning of the story. And so when it gets to the riddle part, if you're comprehending or you were listening, you would know the answer to the riddles, but they trump you because you're like, wait, I didn't know there was questions, but it was a spelling test.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So it's homework and a story at the same time. I like this.
Right. Yeah.
All right. How has the response been for Zeke's Quest for Courage? What are you hearing from parents, from readers? What kind of feedback are you getting?
I've been getting great feedback from Zeke's Quest for Courage. I have I've done school visits with this one. I've done it during their testing time. And the kids, I tell them, because it's all based off a spelling test. So there's a thing called milestones here in Georgia. And I'm not sure if any other state has them, but if they do, during milestones, the kids are tested for information throughout the year and see where they land. So I did story time for them during this time. And at the end of it, I asked them, do you feel like you have enough courage to pass the test now? And they're like, oh, yeah, we got it now. And I said, I hope so. So it made me... I may be happy that they were able to feel like they could, because that was my whole purpose, is to be able to make sure kids know that they have the strength, they have the abilities, but we're also here to support them through anything that they're going through. So
that's great.
It's just been, I've gotten even 2-year-olds, moms that are calling me during bedtime that this is the book on rotation, because I'm like, okay, great.
How does your family respond to the fact that there's a book from mom now on our nightstand by our bed? Like, it's an actual thing. You're an actual real author. How does your family respond to this?
They've been super, super supportive. When I have events, we have them come with us. My
Nice.
son's always like, "Oh, that's me, that's me." He's like the main character, and then they're also always sharing to their friends. Oh, my mom wrote a book, and my husband as well. It's just everyone has just been so supportive, and it's helped the process because it's not easy being a self-published author, and it's not easy
No.
writing children's book as well. But to get all the responses and the feedback from home and outside of the home, it's been amazing.
So take me back to the first time the book arrives at your house, the first time you have your hands on the book. It's all been emails, it's been on a laptop, it's been going to editing, all the stuff. But the first time you actually open the box and pull the book out and hold it for the first time, what does that feel like? For the authors listening, they're like, that sounds like a dream come true. What does that feel like?
Yeah, it definitely like a dream come true. I had to look at it a few times and I was like, wait, did I actually do this? And then the other part set in is like, okay, what do I do from here? Like what do I do now? It's like you wrote it,
Yeah.
but then it's like I guess from the creative aspect, you start thinking, okay, how am I going to get this book out there? What am I going to
Yeah.
do? Everyone chooses their avenue, I would say. Some people just choose to write, to publish, and then that's it. I wanted to get my book in as many homes as possible. So I was excited for that part.
Okay. So when did Zeke's Quest for Courage come out?
It came out in 2024.
24. Okay. All right. That's good. Well, it's out there doing great things. I'm seeing great reviews on your Amazon page here in Canada.
Uh-huh.
So well done. That's really good. So when
Thank
did the
you.
idea come then to write the next one? How soon after Zeke's Quest for Courage did you jump into the next book?
The following summer that I
Oh,
birthed Zeke's Quest for Courage,
really?
I was so inspired in of all the reactions I was getting from Zeke's Quest for Courage. But before I even started writing, I asked myself, and I was contemplating. I'm like, what purpose do I have? And so I couldn't find one. I mean, obviously, I had my day job and I had being a mom and all that, but I felt like something else was missing. And I
Hmm.
always loved to read. I always read the kids' bedtime stories, but I would make them up. So then when I birthed Seeks Quest for Courage and I saw how like it was inspiring children and like landing in all the homes and moms telling me, oh, these stories on repeat. I was like, man, I can't stop here. I got to write again. So Zeke becomes a beekeeper. I wrote that like in 3 hours. I was so ready to write, and I was like, "What do I write about?" But then I was like, "Oh, bees, of course! Like,
Yeah, of
what else
course.
can I write about?" There were so many ideas floating in my head, but definitely that one was the one that trumped all of them at the moment. But I'm not
Okay.
done, so.
No, no, no. There's a lot more to come.
Hmm.
I love the idea of Zeke becomes a beekeeper because that could be taken to like any kind of beekeeping events. You could have like a little table and set up and sell your books, and his parents would be there and be like, "Oh my gosh,
Uh-huh.
there's a book about beekeeping. How many books for children about beekeeping? Not that
It
many, I would think, right?"
I love the fact that it's also like used as a learning tool. So
Yeah.
last year I got invited by a homeschool group to become a lesson. And so I brought out my actual bees, a hive, live bees to the presentation, and the kids had so many questions. We brought out
I
bees, we
bet.
brought honey, and all these things for them to look at and try. So it was so cool to see both things come to life. They actually seen the bees trying to find the queen bee and then relating it back to the story that I wrote.
Wow. Like, talk about an interactive, unforgettable moment for kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you
Correct.
get,
It
it's
was.
not just a book anymore. It's like right in front of them. There are the bees. Wow.
Yeah.
It's
So
incredible.
that
I
was
can remember,
definitely good.
yeah, I can remember when I was a kid and having authors come to my school. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's an actual real author, like somebody who actually wrote a book. Like
Hmm.
this is a real person. And I'm like, I was always just like enthralled by the idea that this person could write a book, because I was little.
Yeah.
I didn't know how it worked, but
Right.
I'm like, I
They
have your
always
book at
see
home and right. Yeah,
they
it's kind
always
of
see
neat.
you as someone like famous as in a
Yeah.
sense. We went to an event one time and the girl's like, "Oh, can I have your autograph?" And I was like, "Oh, what do I do?" Like, sure. I signed all my books, but the fact that she said, "Can I have your autograph?" It kind of was like, wait, I promise I'm not that famous. I'm just here. I just love to write books.
It's good. So, okay, so what happens in Zeke becomes a beekeeper beyond the title, which we kind of assume what's
Uh-huh.
going to happen, but what kind of lessons are we going to learn for our kids through this book?
So there's several lessons. So the main
Okay.
lesson is there it's a family business like ours,
Okay. Yep.
and they Zeke notices that something is wrong. The bees aren't performing as they should be. They're not making as much honey, and that's affecting the household income. This is their business, the family business that everyone works at. So at the one of the meetings he attends, he realizes they're having a junior course. So he decides to go to this course, and in the book, it shows where he's with the instructor. He's learning about what the tools are, how to find a queen bee. And during this course, he finds out that the reason why the bees are not performing at home. So he's able to take that information back to his parents, and he's just jumping for joy that he's able to provide the cause of the honey missing, and they are able to save the bees. And so
Hmm.
I think that basically, to sum it up, it teaches initiative, it teaches responsibility, and it teaches to take care of other things besides yourself. And so I was very, very happy with the response with this book as well, because a lot of questions came from it. People were always wondering, "Oh, well, what's that?" Or how many, like, how many bees are in the hives, or what is, in the book, we talk about varroa mites, which is a threat to bees, and it's gotten worse. So those, I spin it off a little creative of what varroa mites are, but I still am and telling the kids what they are. So
Hmm. Okay.
in a fun, educative way.
Okay, so I have no idea what those are. So I need the book just so I can learn, but can you give us an idea
Definitely.
what is that that's harming bees?
Right. So varroa mites, they are some, it's, I'm trying to use the word in English. It's a threat to bees, an insect, a bug that affects the
Okay.
bees. And they start off when the bees, before they seal off their comb and the
Yeah.
larvae is injected, the queen lays her eggs, they find their way in there. So
Okay.
once, by the time the bee hatches, they've already attached themselves to the body of the bee, and they basically suck out all the nutrients of the bee, and the bee ends up dying. When, if
Hmm.
it's not treated, what happens is it infects the whole hive, and you lose your hives to this varroa mites.
Hmm.
And more of recently, there's been more issues with it, and treatment is out there, but they just become more, so they're more immune to the treatments, and they're just places that never even had them before are starting to see them. And so there's a period where everyone's like, "Oh, let's treat the hives because we don't want to lose them to the varroa mites."
All right. So now I'm almost a bee expert. Almost. I'm still afraid of
Right?
getting stung, but yeah, I'm still a bee. I'm almost
Oh,
there.
that's gonna happen regardless. If you're a beekeeper, you're gonna get stung. I
Yeah.
remember the first time I got stung like yesterday. It was,
Really. Not fun.
yeah.
I
No, no,
yeah.
it wasn't fun at all.
I watch the videos of beekeepers out there with their hives, and they have all their gear on, but the bees are just like bouncing off of their face, like the mesh on their face, and it just
Oh
like
yeah.
they're just hit. You could hear it like bang, bang,
Oh
bang, bang,
yeah.
bang, bang, and I'm like, oh, that would be my like I'm already my skin's crawling right now.
Yeah.
I would be like so like get me out of here, like this is enough.
No,
I'm
I,
done.
I remember the first time that happened to me. It was intense, but it's funny because when they're about to attack, they release a scent when
Hmm.
they're threatened, and it smells like bananas. Yes. So
Bananas.
crazy. Bananas. I don't know how to explain it, but it smells like bananas. And you're like, uh-oh.
Uh
Like,
oh.
I know,
This is
there's
just
some
about to
people that
become
have
bananas. Yeah.
less aggressive bees, and
Yeah.
some have more aggressive bees. Mine have always been on the more aggressive side, so they definitely don't want to be bothered at all.
Wow. Okay. Well, okay. What about for parents when we talk about, bees and having bees in our world and how important they are? What are some bee friendly things that we can do around our home? Like the type of plants that we have or, things that are helpful for bees, maybe? As people are listening all over the world, but
Right.
from where you are, what are some of the nice plants that bees like to have? What can we do to encourage more healthy bees?
So we happen to plant our like 30 by 30 garden right next to the bees, and we left it all natural, all organic. So that way we didn't want nothing to go back and harm the bees as far as chemicals. We
Yeah.
can truly say that our honey is organic in that sense because we wanted to make sure that their source of food or fuel was clean for
Okay.
them. So I think planting the right plants, and if you have a garden, having them there, and just kind of being mindful of them. They are little small creatures, and they're really not a threat. Bees don't really bother you unless they feel threatened, and they're usually, if we get stung, it's because we've rattled the box and we've made too much noise, and
Yeah.
that's the only reason. Other than that, if we're around the hives, they're not there to sting us. They're not there to do any of that. Definitely, if we're robbing the honey, but if we're taking the honey, they'll definitely feel threatened. But other than that,
Yeah.
they're not. I forgot what it was last year. It was like National Don't Step on Bee Day, and I thought that was cute. And I was make sure I put that out there. I was like, please don't step on a bee for multiple reasons, but please don't step on one. You know.
I like that. And the other thing too I see on television often would be someone relocating bees. They'll find it in like a wall of a house. And there's
Oh
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
whole like everything's, and then they'll take it out and they'll move it somewhere safer, right? So
yeah.
that people aren't injured or nothing happens to the bees. Does that happen where bees find their own place to create their own hives then?
Oh yeah. There's been they sometimes they swarm. They swarm
Yeah.
for when they feel like their queen is underperforming or there's not enough work for them in the hive, they will swarm to find a better home.
Oh,
They like to function of knowing that they have a responsibility and there's things to do. If there's no honey in the hive, they're gonna swarm. If they feel like the queen is not producing enough eggs, they're gonna swarm because there are nurse bees that stay back and they're the ones that have that's their role. So it does happen pretty often. We've had our bees swarm, and sometimes we've heard other beekeepers finding beehives swarmed in trees. And
yeah.
people are, other either their neighbors or whatnot are wondering if they can trap them
Hmm.
and come get them if they want them, free bees, basically.
Yeah.
Because but they will grow pretty quickly, and if left, like if you don't know if they've found the way into a little crack in your home and they've decided to that's what is their home, they can grow pretty quickly and take over big space.
So is
That
that
even
something?
happens in the boxes. If our boxes get overcrowded, they'll leave as well because it's too
Oh, yeah.
much. Yeah.
Okay. So that's something where we can reach out to a beekeeper and get somebody to come help us if that happened. We find
Oh, of
that kind of
course.
situation, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's beekeepers that are willing to do that. Some don't go as far as that, but they some most beekeepers, as long as they're honeybees, that's their
Yeah.
interest,
Yeah.
um, then they'll most likely be able to help you. But any other type of family of the bees besides honeybees, you'd probably have to call on some other people on that.
So this has quickly gone from an author podcast to a bee podcast because I'm so curious and I'm learning so much from you and I love it. What about for your future? You said you have lots of ideas.
Uh-huh.
How how soon do you decide to release the next book so that it doesn't impact the book you just released? You want to give your books time for people to
Uh-huh.
find them, fall in love with them. If you just every week you put a new book out, your books aren't going to have
Right.
enough time, right? So, how are you spacing out your book releases, and are you going to keep writing into the future then?
I'm definitely gonna keep writing. I'm actually
Good.
working on a third book, but it's not part of, I want to say, my series. It's not part of my Zeke's quest for
Okay.
courage or Zeke becomes a beekeeper. I gave them a year apart
Yeah.
just because I wanted to learn what worked and what didn't work and where the impact was. And I think that's what I wanted to make sure I mastered first before I started writing any other books. But as far as a timeline between them, I would say is once you feel like you've found your community and how to navigate reaching your books, reaching others, I wouldn't really necessarily put a timeline because people were asking me after I wrote Zeke's with Courage, where's the next book? Like they were
Yeah.
ready to find out. So I guess if you're able to inspire with your first book, and people are asking for your next one, go for it. I took time to learn the process, how to be an author, how to do events, how to do marketing, how to, I wanted to make sure that I didn't make the same mistakes the second time. And that
Yeah.
when I came out with my next book, that I would be a little bit more educated on what not to do.
Any thought about releasing the books in a language other than English as well to complement what you've done?
Yes, yes. I'm planning to write a bilingual book. Right
Nice.
now, at the moment, I had an organization reach out to me, and they asked me if I write them in both English and Spanish, and I said I can. I've been wanting to, and just because my youngest, I only speak to him in Spanish,
Hmm.
so I there is a very limited sources in the libraries that I see as far as the
Right.
bilingual goes. And it's funny because I just went to the library last week with him, and he brings a book, and it happened to be bilingual, and I was like, "What?" So it was in both languages, and I thought that was pretty neat because it does help, to see both of them side by side.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like I would do as far as if I wrote a bilingual book, I would definitely put both English and Spanish on the book so that it was easier to translate.
Okay.
You're not just
Do you,
guessing.
is it difficult to release a book in Spanish that's already been published in English? Can you just create another one, same artwork, and put it out? Is that easy to do? I have no idea.
Um, I would say it's not hard, but a lot of the time, as far as in Spanish, the words can backwards mean something else. So
Oh,
it wouldn't probably translate exactly how I wanted to if I just did it separately.
okay.
Even like for example, Zeke's quest for courage, the riddles wouldn't make sense.
True. That makes sense. Good. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So you'd have to rewrite the story completely then.
Right. I'd have to write it with the mindset that it's going
Yeah.
to be bilingual so that I
Right.
know the words that I'm choosing correctly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think that's really you have an advantage over another author that only speaks English that you
Mm-hmm.
can write in both languages. So that
Correct.
opens the audience up even more for you, right? So
Definitely.
I
Definitely.
think
I mean,
that's
there's
great.
endless possibilities in general, but especially if I can write them in Spanish, which I'm going to, we have that option probably here soon. I always say I'm going to give myself a break, but I always add more stuff to my plate. So.
Awesome. Well, we have lots to look forward to from you. Do you have an idea of when you think a next book would be available? We're recording this in February 2026. Are you thinking this year maybe or next year? Do you have an idea?
So there's one I've been working on. It's called Blossoming Through the Wreckage. And this one's geared more through for my teenage girls because I also have teenage daughters. So I found a need where the communication between mom and daughters and navigating high school and how to do all those fun challenges we get to deal with our children at that time frame. So doing with that one, blossoming through the wreckage, and I'm telling myself September of this year. And I'm saying that because that's my daughter's birthday. So I'm kind of writing it for her. So if I put it out there, I guess it will happen by September, more pressure, but that's what I'm getting myself. I have the cover design already. I have the theme. I already have all that plotted out. So it's just definitely just get that writing done. It's going to be a little bit different than the children's book because it'll be more of a young adult novel.
Right.
So more
Nice.
chapters, less pictures,
There you go. Awesome. And all the honey that anybody
and
could ever
all the
want.
honey for her.
There you
Real.
go. Awesome. Okay, so where do we go as far as listeners, parents, readers, beekeepers, people who just love honey on their food? Where do we go to stay in touch with you? I see Instagram. Where would you like to send the audience?
Okay, so I'm mostly can navigate Instagram the best. I am on Facebook, Instagram. My books are on Amazon,
Okay.
but Instagram has more of what I'm doing next. You're gonna
Okay.
find all the activities, all the events I'm creating. If I won an award, if I got invited to a podcast,
Nice.
all those things is where I'll be posting.
Awesome. This is amazing. I'm excited for you and I'm a grandparent, so I have 2 grandbabies and always looking for the next book to read at bedtime. So yours is on the top of the list. I want to teach them about bees now, and we don't need to
Yes.
be afraid of bees. And
No,
I'm
no,
excited to
not
get
at
this
all.
courage out there for my grandchildren too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's so important to know that, the kids are our future. And then now with this world driven by internet and technology, I want to make sure the kids still fall in love with reading and
yeah,
don't lose that. Knowledge is power. And I always tell the kids, reading a book is like a passport. You can go anywhere with it.
right.
Imagination just takes you wherever you want to go.
There you go. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for being on the show. Congratulations. And looking forward to having you back in the future because you're going to keep writing. I
Yeah.
keep doing podcasts, so maybe we'll have you back and talk about the
Oh,
next
yeah.
book. That'd be okay?
Maybe in September.
All right. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody, all information is always in the show notes. If you want to follow Zeke's quests and you want to hear him be a beekeeper and learn all kinds of great stuff, definitely go check out all the links in the show notes. And as a listener, other parents who are looking for great book recommendations, here's 2 that you need to recommend to your friends and family as well. Thank you so much for being on the show. So glad to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Glad to have you here. I just want to let you know that you can always find out what we're doing live in the moment by going to our YouTube channel. Head over to livingthenextchapter.com. There'll be a link right there. Head over to our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things that all the YouTubers love to say. And in our YouTube channel, a couple things. You're going to get advanced listens. You're going to get the episodes that we're working on in real time. So we record and post daily on our YouTube channel. I'd love for you to give us a follow over there. As well, we're making playlists. We have over 500 episodes. So finding the right episode for you, we're trying to group things into playlists. So if you like children's books, if you like business, you like historical fiction, we're grouping our authors together to make it a little easier for you to find your favorite next author. So head over to livingthenextchapter.com. And again, I'd love to hear from you. Hearing from the listeners of the show is great. And I just want to say thank you for being a part of the podcast family. And I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time and your listen. Take care.